Affordable housing has been an issue in North Omaha for years. There's been a shortage of it. First Alert 6's Philip Katafamo explains people came together today to discuss some potential solutions.
Ashley Dancy has owned a home in North Omaha for a decade. Rising property taxes are her main concern as a homeowner. She attended the summit to make connections and get more information as she's in the process of purchasing a second house to help others.
I make an okay living, but definitely not having the sense of down payment as well. The area that it's in, that's a concern as well. So yeah, definitely down payment is really something that I need some assistance with.
Ashley is launching a nonprofit and wants to turn her grandmother Ruby's home into transitional housing.
She's just been welcoming to everyone in the community. She had a house full of foster kids. She said that I'm living her dream. This is something why I wanted to create this legacy for her. I'm living her dream. I work with young people every day. I see the need and the gap.
But everybody everywhere needs affordable housing.
The number one way that people build generational wealth is through home ownership.
Saturday, neighbors and community leaders attended the North Omaha Housing and Revitalization Summit at North Omaha High School to brainstorm ideas and connect with resources to help increase home ownership in the area.
So it's first of all an update on these are concerns that have been identified by the community, and then these are solutions that we're going to work on collectively.
Following presentations, neighbors pitched ideas, brought up concerns, and spoke with local organizations to learn more about their options for home ownership.
We have people paying $1,500, $2,000 a month in rent. How do we help them transition to utilize that money that they have to now begin to build wealth for themselves?
Ashley says she feels good about her options after the summit as she continues her dream of honoring her grandmother.
I'm feeling blessed, just proud to be in the room, just with other people that's on the same mission and with the same drive.
Reporting in North Omaha, I'm Philip Katafamo, First Alert 6.
The Empowerment Network is going to take inputs from today's session back to their monthly meetings, and from there, work on translating some of those ideas into policy.